Hello everybody and welcome back to the Tiny Fibre Studio podcast. My name is Bex, this is Safi, this is Dexter, and you're watching the 23rd episode of this podcast about spinning and knitting and lots of other crafty bits and pieces. The first thing that I want to talk about today is the inclusion and diversity panel discussion that was held at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which is now available on their YouTube channel. I would highly recommend that every single person watches it. So if you're watching this video, finish this video by all means, but then click on the link in the description to go and watch that one as well. It is a really important addition to the discussion that has been ongoing in the knitting and spinning community. And I think it's also really interesting and useful for a lot of people that there were a wide variety of different opinions and different styles of opinions expressed in that panel. The panel was made up of Cecilia, who is Creative CC on Instagram. She is, in her sort of corporate life, is Assistant Vice President of Inclusion and Diversity at L'Oreal, so she has a lot of experience in this background. There was also Amy from Le Bien Me, Jeanette Sloan, who is a British designer, and Sophia, who is Sophia Tron on Instagram, who is an Australian knitter and was really one of the first to kind of come out and say, you know, there are some problematic things going on and I'm experiencing them. So lots of different opinions, lots of different viewpoints. And I think that's really useful for the rest of the community because I think we can sometimes get lulled into this idea that we should be doing things a particular way. And actually, does it really matter? Is as long as we are moving things in the right direction and apologising sincerely if we get something wrong, we just need to do something. And I would highly recommend that the first thing you do is watch that video. There was an announcement this week that there will not be an Edinburgh Yarn Festival in 2020. I know that that was a bit of a shock to a lot of people. I'm just really glad that the organisers decided to take that decision and to give themselves some time off because honestly, they must work so hard to get that thing organised and running every year. And I can't imagine kind of being on that treadmill of like, oh, we've just finished 1 year of EYF and now we've got to start organising the next one. So yeah, they're taking a little bit of time out, which will be great for them. And hopefully it will mean discovering some yarn festivals that maybe I wouldn't have gone to otherwise. So fingers crossed we will come up with some awesome new venues to shop in. So let's get on to a couple of finished projects. You have seen this one before and I have talked about it as a finished project before, but I sewed in the ends of my strocker, so that was all ready to go. I have noticed that where I've sewn the end in here, it's kind of left a little sticky out bit that's kind of annoying me. I'm not sure whether I can do something to maybe just lay some strands over the top of that to make it feel a little bit nicer. It may just wear in, but I noticed it the other day and I was like, that's really annoying. The other thing that I have also recently finished is Ishnana, which I would put on for you if the cats were not currently pinning me to the chair. So this is a modified version of the Ishnana pattern by Isolde Teague, and I bought some buttons for it at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. Little wooden buttons that have beetles on them. They're very cute. I think the buttons are actually a little bit on the small side. They could do with being a tiny bit bigger because they did come undone fairly easily when I was wearing it the other night. But I basically got around to sewing the buttons on because I needed some lightweight knitwear that was not my red Leica to wear to my parents' 25th wedding anniversary. It's a little bit gapey, it's a little bit tight. I did start knitting this about 3 years ago, probably more. But I think I might be able to get away with it if I wear a different bra. We'll see. So as you can see on the back, I did not do the Ishnana pattern. It's supposed to have a cabled panel down the back. I use the lace panel instead, which does mean that it's a little bit more sort of stretchy and flexible, but it's, to me, it was a nicer option. I didn't really like the cable pattern. And then on the front, it's also got the little lace pattern. So that was nice, and it's a nice little lightweight cardigan pattern. That was made from Vulmees. I have talked about it in a previous podcast, but I did get the buttons sewn on, and so it is officially a finished item now. I can actually wear it without having to worry about buttons not being sewn on. The main project that I was talking about the last time that I saw you was Wool and Honey. Originally, I bought Black Yarns Tamar in the camel colourway for Wool and Honey, and I swatched with it, and I was having to go down to really small needle sizes to get anywhere near the gauge in the pattern. And I was thinking, there's something just mentally quite depressing about having to knit something that's a garment on 2.75mm needles. Yeah, I didn't really want to do that. So I swatched with the Brooklyn Tweed that I bought at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. And when I say swatch, I mean I swatched quite a few times. There are like 4 swatches here. I swatched flat in 3 different swatches. And then I also swatched in the round just to see if my gauge changed. Actually, it doesn't really change very much in the round. But I was basically getting pretty much the same gauge with Brooklyn Tweed as I was getting with Tamar. So I thought, well, that's kind of pointless. Why don't I just do it in Tamar? And then I can use the loft for Natsumi, which was in my Make 9 list for last year, and I never got it completed. So that's the plan now for Brooklyn Tweed. However, having got gauge, finally, on 2.75mm needles, I cast on for the smallest size with the needle size that was giving me the correct gauge according to the pattern, and this is what I have. So I knitted down to the bottom of the 3rd row of hexagons, which is supposed to come up to the edge of your shoulder. Yeah, that's not happening. Let me pop it on if I can get it over my head. Well, just about, but I'm taking my hair grips out with it. Ugh. Okay. Yeah. That's not right, is it? It's tiny. I mean, I can just about get it to the edge of my shoulder, but this is blocked. Keep that in mind, this is the blocked version. So I knitted down to the bottom of the 3rd row of hexagons, put it onto waste yarn, and then blocked it. It's clearly not the right size. In some ways, that's actually quite a nice feeling, because at least I know that I'm not actually going to have to knit this on 2.75mm needles, but I will need to do a little bit of faffing around to figure out what size of needles I will need to knit it on. And that's the kind of frustrating part. Having said that, it was fun to make, so I don't mind doing it again. The only thing that I can think is that because of the way that you make the hexagons, you're kind of almost cabling these extended stitches. And the only thing that I can think is that that is making a difference in the tension. But then having said that, even the neckband is not the right size. So actually I can't blame the cabling. That's rubbish. Whatever. So that's in the naughty corner. I will get back to it at some point, but it will need to be on bigger needles. I did have a message from somebody after the last episode saying that they had had the same experience, and that because they should be knitting the smallest size, they didn't have the option to go down to another size. And yeah, if I ever figure out what size needles I actually have to make this on and what the actual gauge was, then I will give you an update. So while that was blocking, I just decided to throw caution to the wind and just cast on another project. I had already swatched, so I knew what my gauge was for this one. That is living in my Hide & Hammer number 3 bag. And it is the Radiate sweater by Hoki Locatelli. And it's rather fab. I'm not sure about the colour yet. I don't hate it, but I just think that the colour combination should have maybe gone the other way, like the purple as the main body colour rather than the pollen gold. But I don't know, I like it. The top part is really, really fun to knit. Dexter, let go. Let go. No, let go. What was I saying? Yeah, the top part is, the yoke is very, very fun to knit. It's kind of in sections, so you're setting up different slip stitch patterns, so you don't really get bored. It's not the same thing over and over and over again. And now I'm just on to a nice little bit of stocking stitch. So that's really nice and sort of restful. And I cast this on 2 weeks ago, I think. I haven't really worked a lot on it in the last week, but I'm almost down to the bottom of the body. If I compare it to this one, yeah, I need to do some measuring, and I probably don't need to go much further. So yeah, I'll do some measuring once I finish filming, and that will hopefully be onto the sleeves very soon. Incidentally, Hide & Hammer bag. This is how it normally lives around my house. So this has, don't you dare touch that, you little bugger. No. It has the work in progress itself. And it also has my Acreworks yarn caddy and another skein and the bobbin for the yarn caddy with the current skein on it. What else? The Acreworks Knitters toolkit is in there. And then the reel of bookbinding thread that I use to put my stitches on hold. And a whole load of other stuff, and it will fit more. So very, very pleased with this bag. I'm very happy with this one. But it would be lovely to have a little stable of them, little collection. Leave it alone. Look at it, it's covered in cat hair. Covered in cat hair. So those are my knitting works in progress. And in terms of spinning, I do have a spinning finished object, which is a lovely skein of the Hawkshaw sheep Shetland roving that I bought at Make Wool at Edinburgh. So it was a Sunday event at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I went to my guild meeting a couple of weeks ago, and I took some roving, and I was like, I'm never going to get through all of that. But I was a little optimistic, so I did take my Acreworks Lazy Kate with me, and I thought, yeah, I probably won't get through all that, but it's roving, it goes quickly. Yes, I did. I actually haven't measured this yet, so I'll put the details on the screen so that you can see what the yardage and everything was. But I just sat there and I was long drawing, and it was so easy and just lovely to do. I didn't really think too much about it. I didn't really sample too much with it. I just kind of let it do what it needed to do. And I'm really happy with it. It's nice and springy and bouncy. It's relatively consistent. It is a 2-ply woolen spun yarn, so it's never going to be that consistent, but it's pretty good. And yeah, really happy with it. The plan, I think, is to try and make something like a hat, or maybe some kind of colourwork yoke. Whatever, it's beautiful. and really lovely and soft and squishy, and it took about 3 hours start to finish, like including plying. Yeah, something like that. Not very long at all, anyway. So yeah, that was lovely. I really, really enjoyed that, and so I will enjoy getting through the rest of it as well. That skein is a total mess. Let me sort that out. There we go, that's a bit better. And then my other spinning work in progress is these two, which are my Hilltop Cloud Cheviot Silk Mohair, I think, blend, which is the same blend that I spun for the Gradient and Fractal episodes of 51 Yarns. I might have to use these for my Be Kind Rewind episode. I had to rewind them. I didn't have a choice because I couldn't remember which order I had done the spinning in. I knew that I had split the fibre kind of horizontally through the top, so that I had, it was originally mirror dyed, so that meant that I had just one complete rainbow, if you will. I then split each of those down the middle so that I had 2 lots, and then I had spun one lot end to end and the second lot end to end. I just couldn't remember whether I'd joined the same colour or different colours together when I came to the end of the first section. If that makes any sense whatsoever, I would be impressed. But yeah, couldn't remember. The only way that I could possibly figure it out was to actually take the whole lot off onto a storage bobbin and then, you know, keep an eye on it as I was rewinding it. So these are currently on Bobbins Up storage bobbins, which are very useful. They come with the drill bit attachment so that you can just use your electric drill to wind fibre onto them. So yeah, that's coming out pretty well. Little bit of extra spinning done. I've had a lot of questions about 51 Yarns and whether I am actually going to finish the 51 Yarns series of videos, and the answer to that is yes, definitely. I do want to finish 51 Yarns. I'm just going to have to plan to do it over a slightly longer time frame than I was thinking initially. The 51 Yarns spin along on Instagram has now finished, but I really want to get all these videos completed. I have 2 videos which I have at least partially shot. One of them is the Teaching Somebody to Spin episode, which has my friend Katie from the Green Mean podcast coming over to my house and learning to spin. That is currently an hour long. So I have edited it, but it's really quite long. And I'm debating whether I maybe just do like a little sort of talky episode where I just talk about the process of teaching someone to spin and then give people the option to watch the hour-long version, or whether I just put the hour-long version up and call it a day. I don't know. Thoughts, please. A couple of other things. I had a really lovely package from my friend Mars from Hey Brownberry. If you have not seen her podcast before, then go and do so immediately. She's been doing some really interesting experiments recently with natural dyeing and kind of like a sort of gradient dye, which was really interesting, but she had some frustrating issues with local wildlife. So we were having a discussion at Edinburgh Yarn Festival. Safi, what are you doing? Anyway, Mars and I were having a discussion at Edinburgh Yarn Festival about her ritual, which is one of the things that she wanted to do in 2019 was to create this ritual whereby when she sits down to knit, that she spends a little bit of time looking after her hands and moisturising and so on. And she had used these kind of tubes to make her own to make her own sort of solid hand cream, which I thought was a really nice idea. And we were talking about it at Edinburgh, and she wanted to send me, excuse me, what are you doing? No. She wanted to send me some of these tubes so that I can do my own. So that was the main reason for the package. But there was also, as Safi is enjoying here, there was also a lovely little package of some Cormo fibre. It's beautiful. It's so lovely. There's... Why do I do it to myself? Why do I do it to myself? Honestly. Why do I do it, Safi? No, you're not having any. Yeah, beautiful Cormo. Safi clearly thinks so too, and I can't wait to get stuck into that and process it and spin it up and do something fun with it. I don't normally do new and shiny like I used to. It used to be a little bit of a feature of my podcast, but on this occasion, I'll make an exception. I managed to get a bulky flyer for my Chat Matchless on a D-stash on Ravelry. I have a little notification system set up to notify me when new things get posted in a particular thread. And normally that notification comes through like 3 hours after it's been posted. So most of the time I'm not the first person to get in and say yes to things. But on this occasion I was. And so I'm very, very lucky to have got a bulky flyer. There was one slight issue, which I don't think the vendor had actually noticed, which was that there was a little bit of rust on the orifice end and also on the rear maiden end. I did manage to clean that off, but there is some corrosion that is kind of raised up from the surface of the maiden, and so I really don't want to put that into the front maiden because I don't want to cause any additional wear. So I got in touch with Shacked and I was just like, can I buy a replacement part? Because this section actually unscrews. There's a screw there, so you can unscrew this central section. And they did try doing some troubleshooting with me first. They were like, you know, if you get this particular type of rust remover, whatever, but I was like, I've tried some rust remover, I'd rather just buy one. So yeah, they are going to be sending me a new one of those, so it'll be all up and running, and it will still cost a lot less than the full retail price, so I'm still very happy with that. So there you go. I think that is it. I feel like I've blathered on an awful lot, so goodness knows how long this will take me to edit and get uploaded, but there you go. If you have enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to please press the thumbs up button to just let me know that you enjoyed it and found it useful. If you would like to subscribe, there is a subscribe button down below this video as well, and that's useful because it then goes into your subscribe list and it's a lot easier to find the videos. Or if you would like notifications about them, you need to press the little bell to the side of the subscribe button, and that will give you a notification whenever I upload a new episode. Next things that you can expect on this channel are probably going to be the 51 Yarns Luxury episode and also the Teaching Somebody to Spin episode once I've decided what to do about that. In the meantime, you can find me on Instagram as Tiny Fibre Studio and on Ravelry I'm Ibex. I hope this was useful and I will see you again next time.